Good evening, everyone. It's been an interesting day. Busy Friday for me. I had a client that had to open a bank account, and that was interesting because one of the things that I like to do is make sure that my clients have the anonymity that they need. So, in opening a bank account, we want to make sure that they can't easily be traced. So we worked that out today. And it's not something that's easy to do, but it can be done. So opening a bank account, making sure that you don't have a footprint in a certain area. As I've stated before, this is the United States of America. We have 5% of the world's population. We have 70% of the world's lawsuits. There are more lawyers in Jacksonville, Florida than the whole of Japan. And you have to protect yourself from being sued. You really do. Now, today, what I would like to do is I'm going to talk about some things, but I actually want you all to chime in whenever you want to chime in, and maybe I can get some questions answered, some general questions. I'm happy about the fact that the Corporate Transparency Act's beneficial ownership information that we were supposed to fill out by the end of the year was struck down with the Texas court, and I'm glad I waited. I have it on my calendar for the 26th. Well, I erased it now, but I have it on my calendar for the 26th. So I'm just glad I didn't do that. I've heard from several people that were angry that they actually did that form for themselves and even some for their clients earlier on out of fear or just whatever. And I was told early on, we had a meeting. I was with some, heavy hitters, and they were like, don't do it. Don't do it. Just wait till the last minute. So since I had 6 companies that I was supposed to do, I scheduled like 4 hours on the 26th to do it. And I'm glad I didn't. So getting to some of the topics that I wanted to talk about today, our theme this coming year is Let's Thrive in 2025. And in order to do that, one of the things we need to do this year and the few days that we have left is to make sure that we have our financial houses in order, or we at least have a plan to get them in order. I want to talk to you about what looks like it's going to happen in early 2025. In early 2025, I had a recorded video about the DOGE. That's Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy that have been commissioned by President-elect Donald Trump to come in and drain the swamp, is what I put in the video that I have. So I'm going to read a little bit of what they're proposed to do and why and how it affects you guys, because it does affect you. When I talk on this live stream or even in my recordings, I want to make sure that the information that I'm giving is something that could or probably will affect you all and your finances, because that's where our focus is. Yeah, we want to hear about what's going on all over the world, but more specifically, how it affects our finances. So in a November 20th op-ed, the Wall Street Journal, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy wrote that the DOGE will emphasize a few areas. Number one, regulatory recessions, which means getting rid of a lot of regulations that bog down government. I don't know if you've had experience with regulations that bog down government, but a lot of businesses have suffered, and even some of them had to go out of business because some crazy regulation. So I'm going to give you an example. It's San Francisco, an area struggling with homelessness and public defecation. They built a 150 square foot public bathroom for $1.7 million. I'm not making this up. You can look it up. They built a restroom, a bathroom, like out in the public for $1.7 million. The average cost of a home in the area is $1.3 million. You can't make this stuff up. The reason, and I'm not going to read a whole lot of the article, but the reason that this bathroom cost $1.7 million is because of regulations. So they can't just come up and build a bathroom or two or stalls, or they can't just do that. They have to go through all of these bureaucratic red tape. And so I want to talk about the different things that they have to go through. It says, according to Reason Media, the high cost of a single stall restroom at a location that already had necessary plumbing, was due to requirements for builders to pass a dizzying number of regulatory stops. These include seeking approval from the Arts Commission, Civil Design Review Committee, okay, passing review under the California Environmental Quality Act, and getting the go-ahead from the city's Rec and Park Commission and San Francisco Board of Supervisors. And if that isn't enough, the project would also be subjected to a period of community feedback. So to me, stuff like this is just part of the money grab, because every step of the way that I just mentioned, a person or people are getting more money. It makes no sense on God's green earth for a bathroom that's 150 square feet to cost $1.7 million. This is part of that government waste. Now, that example, and there are other examples, like the city of New York spent $2 million on a public park bathroom, and $1.8 million was spent in Philadelphia on 6 modular Portland Loo bathrooms over the next 5 years. So this happens on the local level, like these cities, but it also happens on the federal level. Folks, this is where your tax dollars go. So when you either have a paycheck and the money's deducted out of the paycheck, or you own a business and they're demanding that you send in quarterly taxes, these are the things that the money's going to. That's the problem. And that's what the DOGE wants to eliminate. Now, another area that they want to talk about, or they want to get rid of, is to make administrative reductions, which means eliminating a lot of redundant jobs in the government. And that's a big one. They're hoping to institute large scale layoffs of federal employees and force civil servants to work in their offices 5 days a week. So the video that I shot last week that talked about the DOGE talked about the fact that there are a lot of empty buildings. So some buildings, the average building has 12% occupancy, only 12, not even 20, 12% occupancy during the week. And I think one of them was only 6%. I think that was the Department of Agriculture, 6% occupancy. These people are not coming in, they're staying home. Goodness knows what they're doing. But the government hasn't been run any more efficiently. So what they want to do is they want to force people to come back to work. And Ramaswamy says, we expect mass reductions. We expect certain agencies to be deleted outright. Now, that's a big one right there. He's making some big, bold statements there. We expect mass reduction in force. That's a specific term, in areas of the federal government that are bloated. And then there's a lot of them. So I want to explain what reduction in force means. What that means is how the government refers to layoffs. So Ramaswamy, who during his presidential campaign vowed to lay off 75% of federal workers. Okay, that's a lot. And he said that Trump's administration will take a different view than many of the scholars. Most people believe and have espoused to the career civil servant, which means that once you've been there for a while, you can't be fired. It's like, I shall not be moved. But have you all noticed, I think it's Argentinian President Milei, and he has drained the swamp. And that's interesting because the people wanted it and they're suffering a little bit based on some things that are going on, but draining the swamp. So the presidents that I've been kind of looking at is uh, Millet, and then the one that's in El Salvador, nice looking guy that's young, and he's gotten most of the gang crime off the streets. These are things that can happen. And if these smaller so-called third world countries can do it, it can be done here. It's a matter of what the power elite want and don't want. But I think that Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, they're fresh, and they have all of these ideas about what they want to happen, and they think it's going to happen. So it says that let me tell you his logic behind this whole thing of getting rid of the workers. This is what he said. If you require most of the federal bureaucrats, which is the federal government employees, and just say like normal working Americans, you need to come to work 5 days a week. A lot of them won't want to do that. I agree. I don't know how many there are statistics out there that I saw that said most of them are coming to work, but then the other stats say these buildings are empty. So, somebody's playing with the numbers. Either way, they're not going to want to come back to work. I've heard them say they don't want to come back to work. So he says if you have many volunteer reduction in force in the workforce in the federal government alone, that will be great. So what he's saying is a lot of these people who are career government employees who've been there 10, 20, 30 years that are just, sitting at home and what they describe as maybe just collecting a paycheck, doing little or nothing, when they're required to come back into the office, they're going to quit. And that's what they're looking forward to. So he says that's a good side effect for those policies. So if they put these policies in place, make these people come back to work, they're saying, okay, well, I'm already 65 and, I'm here at home doing whatever I want to do, but they're trying to make me come back in the office for 5 days a week. And I don't want to do that. So I'll just go ahead and retire. That's what they're looking for. He also said that administration will be making significant cuts in federal contracting. Let's talk a little bit about federal contracting. So the richest 5 counties in this whole land are up in the DMV, the Virginia, Maryland, DC area, because we're being gouged with these contracts. I'm sure you guys know about these contracts. Let's say, for the sake of argument, somebody will get a contract for, I'm going to use small numbers, $100,000, and they're the lowest bidder if there was ever a bid. But then there are change orders, and those change orders are allowed in the contract. So at the end of the day, the $100,000 contract could end up being $400,000 or even $700,000. That's how this crazy stuff happens with these bathrooms. So all of these people are like, milking the government cow is what's going on. So they also plan to deal with these contracts. I remember hearing about a contract where, we were paying over $200 for chairs that were being put together for $30. That's what happens. And until the purse strings get tightened up, nothing's going to change. It's just getting worse. I mean, the deficit that we have is just overwhelming. It's not sustainable. There's no way that the country can ever pay back, what is it, $36 trillion now? So where's this going? I think that for a long time they've been kicking the can down the road, but guess what? We can see the dead end. And I don't want to be around when the can hits the dead end. So another very interesting thing that they said is that they're going to focus particularly on driving change through executive action based on existing legislation rather than passing new laws. So that really caught my eye, because what it means is they're expecting pushback from the Congress, both from the House and the Senate, both from Democrats and Republicans. But, because they've been comfortable living in this slush of money of ours, they've been comfortable with it. All of them, both sides, both houses. And they're gonna get some pushback from it. So they plan to find ways to have Trump make changes via executive order. They don't talk about executive order a lot of times because I don't think they want people focusing on the fact that over the years, presidents have made some serious changes in our country based on executive order. But they're saying that a lot of the things that they want to put in place, they're expecting that President-elect Trump, when he's elected or when he's sworn in, is going he's going to make some changes via these executive orders. This is going to be an interesting year, y'all. It's really going to be an interesting year. I think we just need to make sure that we spend the public's money well. That's what Elon Musk's saying. We're switching from Ramaswamy to Musk now. He has expressed openness to defense cuts, telling progressive political commentator Yank Uger, that the guy that used to be the Young Turk person that kind of switched over and got off of that onto something else, that he would offer suggestions to reduce the size of the Pentagon's budget. Defense cuts would represent a divergence from traditional Republican orthodoxy. A lot of the Republicans, in my estimation, are warmongers, which has historically supported significant defense spending while cutting other areas of the budget. So, you think about the veterans, but then you think about what's going on with the Department of Defense. Dwight D. Eisenhower, which was one of our presidents early on, I think it was the late 50s, early 60s, he warned us about the military industrial complex. I remember hearing that speech, and it was sort of a veiled warning, but it was sort of overt when he was talking about be careful about the military industrial complex. So the war machine spends billions of dollars every year. And remember the report that came out last month that said that they have failed the last 7 audits. And not only that, they've had 864 billion, I'm sorry, $824 billion. They don't know where it is. Now, if we did something like that, if we got audited and we didn't pass the audit and we had $100,000 worth of unreported income, what would happen? What would happen? So we know what's going on with that. I don't know what's going on with the money. There's a lot of, put a 1 in the chat if you heard of any theories about what's been going on with the money that the Defense Department is getting. I want to see. Don't put a 1 in the chat. Put what you heard about what's going on with all this money that's basically vanishing, going down the tube, that the Defense Department is supposed to have, and the failure of these audits. And let me see if there's anything in the chat, any questions. Possibly more inflation and jobs. I'm hoping that 2025 doesn't bring more inflation. It would be nice to have more jobs. I like the fact that small business is the backbone of our country, and the government is the one that bloats the country. So the more business we have, the more people that open businesses and these businesses are able to thrive, then the better our economy does, because these businesses are able to hire people and or have people as contractors, and people have the ability to make extra income. Hello, rightfully structured. Hope the day went well. Could you go more into detail about setting up the bank accounts, please? Yes. And that's something that I do for clients, but I'll just say that one of the things that wealthy people do is they I don't want to say they hide behind shells, because I don't want you to think they have a lot of shell corporations, but they make it hard for anybody to find them and sue them. I called this country the United States of America. I wasn't kidding. We have 5% of the world's population. We have 70% of the world's lawsuits. There are more, there's 100, I think it's 100 million lawsuits. We just have a lot of lawsuits. So if your business is seemingly successful, then you put yourself at risk for being sued. So the way that I've learned and teach my clients to avoid as much as possible is to make sure that they're structured in a way that whatever assets they are making use of, first of all, doesn't belong to them. And that when they're setting up bank accounts, it's hard for them to, it's, let's say if there's an opposing lawyer. So remember I talked about in the interview with my dad, I talked about him teaching me and my late brother how to play chess. So when you're thinking about business and structuring and making sure that you keep, protect, and grow what you earn, you want to make sure that all of the obstacles or opposition to what you're doing, you can push them away best you can. So if I'm going to open up a bank account, I'm going to, first of all, have a company that people can't look into and see that I'm the owner. So, for example, here in the Atlanta area, we are in Georgia. So you can go to the Georgia Secretary of State and there's a corporation search or business search. It doesn't say corporation because it doesn't have to be a business. So if it's an LLC or a corporation, whether that be S Corp or C Corp, you have to register that. If it's an LLC, a partnership LLC or whatever, even a sole proprietor LLC, those have to be registered with the Secretary of State. So when someone goes downtown, or rather goes online to look at the Secretary of State, they'll see the name of your company and whoever is the registered agent of the company and your address, the company's address. So you look me up and you're going to see SP Jackson Consulting. Don't know whether the address is up there or whatever address, it doesn't matter. I'm up there as the owner of the company. That's the only company that has a footprint. The rest of my companies don't have a footprint. This is the main company. The rest of my companies, they're not even in Georgia. They're not in Georgia. So in order for you to, and this is for you, I think who was asking? It was CREA 8. I can't really see that really good, but when you're setting up a business, you want to set it up maybe in another state. And it depends on what kind of business. Some states are better for some things, some states are better for other things. However, it's hard for you to be able to set up a bank account. For example, if you are here in Georgia and you've set up your company in another state, what happens is most banks want you to also register in your home state as a foreign company. When they say foreign company, what they mean is you're registered somewhere else primarily, but we want you to register over here. That's what the bank wants. In order for you to transact in whatever state you are, they want you normally to show your face in the state. For example, here in Georgia, a lot of the banks, so they'll say, okay, we're not going to open up a bank account for you if your company is registered in another state. We'll open up a bank account for you for that business, but you have to fill out the paperwork to register in Georgia as a foreign corporation. And I'm looking like that defeats the purpose of us, trying to keep our anonymity. So that's what I meant about, trying to get that done. There are lots of different ways to get it done, and it depends on the client. I've even had clients have to fly out to the other state to open up the bank account. It just depends on how serious you are about keeping your anonymity. So money laundry, yes. Some people, I think that they all know who the money launderers are. If you haven't already gone to look at it, there's a documentary. I think it's called The Panama Report. That's the second time highfalutin officials from all over the world have been caught with those shell corporations and stuff that really didn't even have any style. It was just crazy. So look up the Panama Report. What they're saying is, okay, we're trying to crack down on people doing these things, but why come bother Joe and Sally Brown, who has a small business. You know where this is coming from. I mean, if they can pinpoint, this is what I told somebody earlier today. If they can pinpoint and delete somebody in the middle of another country in a cave, they know how to find these people who are doing this. But they're doing this together. It's like they're all in the same club, and everybody has something on everybody else, so they don't want to do that. They want to come after us, which is another story. But let me see. So okay, I hope that helped. That's what I help people to do if they want to. Some professions you can't do that. If you are a doctor or someone that has to have some kind of a license, a lot of times you're not able to set up somewhere else. If your license is in a certain state, they want you to set up there. However, that doesn't mean that you can't set up other businesses and have them work together. Hint, hint. So let me see what else I had here. So it says Musk and Ramaswamy have made it clear that they hope to form a novel advisory committee, which is likely to shape the federal finances for the coming year without wielding formal power. So what they're saying is, we know we don't have any official power, but we kind of have the power because we're very popular, and we have the resources to get the word out there through media, and the president to be has already commissioned us to do that. Now, if they can pull off cutting government spending and reducing the government and reducing all these crazy regulations. I mean, I've seen where in the past somebody had their own land and they had like 60 acres, but they weren't able to do anything on it because a special bird was over in a little pond on their land, and they were not allowed to do what they wanted to do on the rest of the land because it would have affected the fact that that little bird lands in that pond. This, I'm not making this up. It was something in Florida. It's just crazy. So if they do this, if they're able to do this, then I think that even a lot of the Democrats will be happy because, again, our economy can start, you know, thriving more. I think that, and I don't, I'm not a stock market person, as you guys know, but seems like the stock market and people's minds fluctuate based on the fact that they think that economy is going to get better, maybe based on the fact that when Trump was president before, the economy was robust. As I tell people, and as I've talked to other people, because I ask people, like, I didn't vote for him, I didn't vote at all, but what is it that made you so uh, averse to him, and they can't come up with anything but emotional stuff. And I said, what about the economy? Everybody that had a business said that their business did so much better, and sometimes, like mine, the best it ever did during those years. So they're expecting maybe the same thing to happen. I don't know, because there's a lot of different factors that weren't around at the time. We weren't in so many different military situations at the time. It's a lot, but yeah, I know it's hard out there. I know that it's hard out there, and we need to start paying attention to look at this and say, okay, things could get better if they reduce the government. And I think that there was talk about getting rid of the IRS. I'm not holding my breath on that, y'all, because there's so much power in taking our resources. There's so much power. And I don't think these people are willing to give up the power. Somebody like Rand Paul, there's a few more of them out there willing uh to expose all of this. But I would love to get rid of the IRS. And whatever if you look at the Constitution, there were only like 18 duties that the government had. It was the postal and taking care of us as far as military, all these different things. 18. And now look at overwhelmingly what the government does. And people are saying, well, they need to do this. No, it's supposed to be to the states. I think Article one of these articles says basically that the duties that the federal government, the duties that are not enumerated to the federal government are left to the states. Just like recently, I hear and understand that the federal health care, that marketplace, is no longer federal. They've doled it out to all of the different states. So if you have health care through the federal government marketplace, then you received a letter saying, okay, well, they're not going to do it anymore. It's going to the states. So it can be done. Education. Education can be done on the state level. I don't know if people, I trust me being able to go downtown Atlanta, which is about 15 miles from here, to argue with the state senators and state congressmen about what I want. I would never be able to get anywhere in Washington. As a matter of fact, I was in Washington back in 2004. We took them packages showing them, about the taxes and everything. We got responses like, "Thank you for visiting Washington. The next time you come to Washington, please visit us again." We had no response, zero responses concerning what we were talking about. I think they probably tossed it in the trash. So we don't have a voice at all. And I think on the local level, there is a voice on the local level. I know some people personally that have gotten into offices and they're doing some good, but on the federal level, nope. Let me see what else I have here. If I don't see any more questions, I know it's Friday night and people are probably doing whatever they do on Friday night. But I don't see any more questions, and I was gonna come up with a solution. So before I do that, I'll check the chat one more time. Okay, so the solution that I am proposing for you all, and I've talked about it a little bit before. So and when I have clients, this is what I do. I put myself in their shoes. They'll tell me their situation. First of all, I'll figure out whether I can help them or not. Then I put myself in their shoes. It's going on 2025. The economy's not all that good. You have a business or you don't have a business. What do? You put your head down and you start getting more income, because I don't know how much time we have before the excrement actually hits the portable cooling device and all this stuff starts breaking loose. It's like, this is what I would do. Get resources, get some hard assets. I told people asked me before, well, hard assets, I can't get real estate right now. I understand that. But you can get a little silver and a little gold. And then, I told you all when I started buying gold, it was $313 an ounce. Now it's over 2,000. So the gold that I have is, the value of it's going up. Get a little bit of gold. I mentioned, for those of you that didn't know, and I do not get a commission, Volunteer Precious Metals is who I use there in Tennessee. Tennessee's mascot is the volunteer. VolunteerPreciousMetals.com. They have silver, they have gold, they have the best prices. I send people there all the time. I get nothing for that, but I like to tell you guys things that work. So getting silver, getting gold, putting some cash aside. I would say 6 months cash aside, making sure that at least you have your rent or your mortgage, because you got to have a roof over your head. So I would try to save more than that. We don't pay attention a lot of times because, based on my clients over the years, we don't pay attention to how much we spend on conspicuous consumption. Why is it that I'm talking to a client on the phone and they tell me, hold on, and they're ordering a latte at Starbucks? Why are we even going there? I mean, make your coffee at home. Shoot, I'll bring you some coffee from Costa Rica and it tastes better than any of that stuff. But if you add up how much money is spent over the year, that could be a nice chunk of change for your nest egg, for your 6 month saving, or for some silver and gold. That's what we need to do. And if you're not willing to do that, then you're putting yourself in the hands of the Klaus Schwabs or the Yuval Harari, the one that said we're useless eaters. And then Klaus Schwab said that we'll own nothing and be happy. Well, the hedge funds are buying up all the houses. They're buying swatches of houses. So the bank might have, let's say in this county, they might have 1,400 houses that they have up for foreclosure or whatever, and they're just being swiped up. So if the hedge funds are buying them, then they're going to be maybe not fixing them up and then renting them out. So everybody's going to be a renter. You all pay attention to these people. Klaus Schwab, Yuval Harari is the one that keeps talking about us being useless eaters. That makes me angry. I'm not a useless eater. I'm not a useless eater. So the elite think they're better than us. And we need to stop fighting amongst each other about, black, white, Asian, Latino. We need to stop. We need to stop. Oh, you're a Muslim. I'm a Christian. You're a Jew. All of that stuff like that. They're just sitting there laughing at us because they have plans. It doesn't matter to them in the end. We're all going to be in the same sheeple corral because they consider us sheeple. We're going to be in the same corral. So we just need to stop. I don't argue with people about that stuff. I don't argue with people at all. I'm getting to that age where I'm a little bit cynical, set in my ways. It's like I don't have time. Like that little that meme that came out a long time ago. Anybody got time for that? I don't have time for that. I'm not gonna argue with you about all of that stuff. The bottom line is we have a certain amount of time before these people unleash whatever in the world they're gonna unleash. And they're gonna do it. And don't think it's not gonna happen. I mean, I don't know how bad it's gonna be at first. I don't know how severe it's gonna be, but it's too late to start planning for it when it happens. It's too late. Let me check the chat. CTA was defeated. I'm praying that the government decides not to appeal the injunction. I don't think it would make sense for them to do that, but you never know because they want our information, obviously. I just watched a short documentary on Democracy Now! With Amy Goodman, and she was showing about a movie that talks about how our government and other governments have commissioned some kind of program called Pegasus where they can just listen to your phone. They can turn your phone on and listen to you. Like my phone is sitting right here next to the computer. And without that lighting up, they can be listening to your conversations, all this other stuff. And they've been going after, like in other countries, political opponents and people who are against what the government is doing and all of that. But the United States also bought that program. All of these things are going on, and I don't know how they will affect us individually. I don't know how they're going to affect us corporately, but I know that the evil in this place is evil. This country, I heard a video yesterday. This country was hijacked right at the beginning because it was supposed to be, the land of the free and the home of the brave. And it just got hijacked right at the beginning because, of slavery. I mean, you can't even say it was ever that. So these people don't have our best interests at heart. Please don't waste your time doing things that aren't going to be productive for your family, which is learning about the different things that you can do to help your family and doing them. So anyway, it is 8:38. And if there are no questions, I'll wait like 1 minute and see if anybody has any questions. And then I'm going to go. It's been a long day. I still have a little bit of client work to do. And then I have a nice little event that I'm supposed to go to tomorrow. So got to go get my car washed in the morning. Hopefully it's not too cold. It's been pretty cold in the morning. It's been like this morning, it was below freezing here in Atlanta. So I might just be able to go right before the event because maybe it'll be warm enough to get a car. I'm not doing it myself because it's just too cold. All right. Ellis in Wonderland. Always good to see you, Sherry, and hear your wisdom. Next week. Is it next week? No, we'll be good next week. And as we start coming into the holidays, I know I do Tuesdays and Fridays, but depending on, when Christmas and all that stuff is, or when we're having different parties, I'll let you know in advance whether I'm not going to be there. But I do appreciate you subscribing. I do appreciate the likes, and I really appreciate when you put questions in the box, in the comment box, because I'm here to answer your questions. Some things are gonna be complicated, and then we can talk about those separately. And remember, on the 14th, I have a class. It's a 4-hour class, and if you can't attend the whole thing, you'll get a recording of it. But this class will be deeper than what I talk about. I don't talk deep on here. The class will be deeper, and the link to it is, I believe, in the description box. But if you have general questions, sometimes put those down there, and then I'll try to answer them. You should look up Mitch. Okay, I'll write it down. Is that Vexler? Ryan, what does Mitch Vexler do? I try to I don't spend a lot of time like on social media because I do, I'm alone, so I have to take care of everything, the cleaning up the clothes and the clients and all the other stuff like that. So I try to look and see what's going on that's going to affect your finances more so than anything. Property tax fraud. I saw a serious video or two, and it might have been him about property tax fraud and how it's rampant. And I actually copied those videos. So again, that's a battle that somebody else can take on, that they need to take on, and I think he might be taking it on. The videos that I saw, there were two of them, and there were two men talking about it, and he was very impassioned about the fact that they're doing a whole bunch of stuff and having people pay for property taxes and they're not supposed to. Do you have any programs to help crypto taxes? No, but I have done a lot of research for my clients. I have clients that deal in crypto. So one of the things that I do for clients is research. They don't have time to sit there and do it. And they don't, a lot of times when they do it, they don't understand it from a financial standpoint. So I have two clients that are really into crypto very heavily. And I've done research for them. And even the ones that aren't with me anymore as far as ongoing clients, when I find something that is very important concerning new developments in crypto, then I still send it to them because they're always my clients anyway. So I am going to go and get a little bit more client work done before I turn in, and I should be back next Tuesday. I don't see a problem with being back next Tuesday. You're welcome. Okay, you have a question. Somebody has a question. Good evening, Sherry. Thank you for your valuable. Okay, go ahead and ask your question. I usually go for an hour, but all right. What do you think is the best response to the IRS who makes assumptions and presumptions are frivolous? They always use that frivolous stuff. And, when I was an IRS agent there, and since I've been out and helping people, sometimes I do a whole legal package to tell them why whatever it is that they're talking about isn't frivolous. I mean, that frivolous word covers everything. And so I don't want to deal with what you're talking about. I don't want to look it up. I don't want to. It's frivolous. It's frivolous. So you just have to come back and say this is why it's not frivolous. Give me some right answers with the law. Use the law. Don't use the word frivolous. Use the law to show me where I'm wrong. Okay, so the question was, where's a good place to live in America if you don't want to move out of the country just yet? That is an excellent question. I can only tell you my perspective on it. So I would go to Texas. I like Texas. Texas has Texas Rangers, and I'm not talking about the sports team, and they have their own gold repository. From what I understand, their teachers' retirement system is based on the gold uh, repository. So and they don't have a state sales tax. I wouldn't pick Florida, even though they don't have a state sales tax, but it's too much going on with the weather in Florida. I would more than likely do an area of Texas that was maybe in the middle, not in the Houston area, because again, they still have weather stuff. That was what I would do. Some people would say Arizona, they don't have enough water. It's like I was in Arizona one time, standing outside talking to somebody, and I just realized I can't stand out here anymore. It's 115 degrees and I am roasting. I felt like I was literally in an oven. But I would go to Texas. You can do the research. There are videos out there on YouTube to tell you the pros and cons of moving to different places. Like one of the videos that I saw recently said that North or South Carolina were really good places based on the jobs, based on the cost of living being low. And, I think that the Raleigh Durham area is like a technology center. So that might be something that I know. I have one client that's moving from Florida to the Carolinas. So it's up to you really, but doing your research and based on your likes. But I would go to Texas, somewhere near Dallas, Plano area. I'm about to settle some lawsuits and I want to know where I can put my money where it can be safe, and If I had some money coming in, I would invest some in gold, some in silver, and some in real estate. Real estate, my preference for real estate is in out of the country, but real estate somewhere. Land is the basis for all independence. You can live in it, you can rent it out, you can make a business with it or something like that. I don't do the IRAs, 401ks, mutual funds. And there are some things that I would do with money that involve investments, but I can't talk about that on YouTube. But not they don't have anything to do with the investments that can disappear in the blink of an eye, like stocks and stuff like that. This fella that was the insurance person, he was the CEO of an insurance company that got deleted the other day. I heard that he sold like $15 million worth of stock a few days before it came out something negative about the company, insider trading stuff. It's like you can't win for losing because all these people have all this insider information. So I would never just put money in stocks and stuff because those people up there, just like with fractional reserve banking, when they print money, it's the banks that get the juicy use of that money, and then it trickles down to nothing and pennies when you get it. So yeah. I received a letter. Should I respond with conditional acceptance or affidavit of rebuttal? I don't know. I don't know the circumstances. That would be a question that will be a kind of a one-on-one question. The only thing I can say is I wouldn't ignore their letters. I definitely wouldn't ignore it because see they have the money that they get from us to continue to go after you, after you, after you, after you. And even if you write letters, I know people who have come to me and said, I have been fighting them for 10, 12 years. And I've been writing letters back and forth and back and forth. And they'll go away for a year or so. And then boom, they're back. And I'm tired. I'm tired of writing letters back and forth. They try to wear you down. I was thinking along that line. Yeah. Right. Right. Think about where you want to, if you don't want to leave the country, which is fine. A lot of people are moving to Tennessee also. Some of my mentors from afar and up close, mentors from afar are actually living in Tennessee. My mentors up close are thinking about moving to Tennessee also. It's another state that doesn't have state sales tax. In the mountains of Tennessee. I don't think I would want to live there, but that's another state. So for me, I think that Texas would be first, and then Tennessee might be second. I wouldn't go to California would be the absolute last place I would go. All right, you all. So you're quite welcome, and I'm going to go, and I plan on being back. Yeah, New Hampshire though, that's cold as all get out, Celine. And I don't know, and they're very liberal up there. So, yeah. I mean, yeah, there's seven. I think it's seven states that don't have state sales tax, but then they have other issues to go along with that. Like it might be even Alaska, but not going there. I know my attorney used to live in Alaska. It's like some places I'm just not. I'm not going, and I'm not going to visit either. So, all right, everybody, have a good one. I should be back on Tuesday. And please, in the comment section, put some of the topics that you want to talk about. Okay. Have a great one.